First thing I would like to ask you is, when you hear the word diabetes, what's that comes to mind for you?
My mother was diabetic, but she was hypoglycemic for a while, and then she converted over to the other. So with diabetes, I think about, okay, and where I worked in the health field for years, all the different complications that can happen. You can get ulcers and sores that will end up making you have to have amputations. Very controlled diet. That's something a lot of people don't like, and I don't like it either. But learning portion control has been a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you have diabetes?
Yes, I do. Diabetes type 2.
Okay, and how long have you had it?
About 6-7 years.
How'd you come to find out?
I had my last knee replaced, and I'd healed well, and I'd been told I was borderline. And they decided that since it was staying up just a little bit longer than usual, that I probably needed to go on metformin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was started out with metformin twice a day. And then I went on up for a while because arthritis got so bad with my back and everything. I was sedentary, wasn't moving around a whole lot. And with not having the exercise, of course, your blood pressure goes up, plus your blood sugar doesn't do as well either. And I ended up with 2 pills twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And after I've had back surgery, I'm not in so much pain. I'm down to 1 pill twice a day, and a glyceride in between.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing a lot better.
Good. That's good news.
A whole lot better. Plus, I've lost some weight. Weight is hard to lose when you're diabetic.
Mm-hmm. So how have you done it?
Trying to do portion control mainly, watching what I eat, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, especially the raw vegetables. It's hard to say, okay, you get something by the palm of your hand, and that's your portion of meat, and but it will work. But and I've cut out more breads than what I had. Used to eat a lot of bread.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't eat as many now.
I'm just sort of curious. You said that you were borderline for a while.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you think you were borderline?
I think it was about 3 or 4 years that I was on that borderline. Back then, 120 was the normal, and I started going up a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got up to 150, they said, okay.
Not borderline anymore.
Not borderline anymore, it's time we stay, and that's where I was staying.
Okay.
At the 150.
Okay. And have you ever taken insulin?
No.
Okay. And you said you were a health worker?
Yes, I worked home health.
Okay, and what did you do?
I was a home health nurse's aide for 21 years. Then I transferred into the hospital, and I worked in the purchasing stores at that time for 11 years. But at the same time, all those years, I was an EMT for 18 of those years.
Okay.
Away.
So you've seen a lot of people in the area that have diabetes.
Yes, I have.
All right, tell me about some of that experience. What did you see?
Blindness was some. I know they're telling me right now, if you notice, my eyelids are a little droopy.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably from my diabetes.
Mm.
They said that it does happen. And I know of people who's had surgeries for that. They said eventually it will affect your vision, so I'll probably have to have that. What worries me is losing my sight.
Mm-hmm.
But so far everything's been good. And have my eye checkups.
You go once a year? And...
Yeah, sometimes I'll forget and it'll go a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
But I usually try to make at least once during the year time.
That's right. That's good. That's good. So you saw, in people you cared for, you saw blindness. Did you see
Blindness.
amputations?
Yes, I saw amputations. I saw large ulcers. People on dialysis as a result. And I transported patients that were on dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different situation.
Mm-hmm. How would you explain it?
For somebody on dialysis, sometimes when they go in, they can be real halfway feel sluggish. Sometimes they feel better as they come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times it's a challenge, for them. And you don't know how they're really going to react, because they may not do as well coming back out as they did go in.
So that probably convinced you didn't want to be...
Not quite that bad.
Yeah. I hear you.
Another thing I've found for myself is learning that fats are as important as the sugars with diabetes, because that it helps run it up. And I know I've got a sister that's diabetic, and she didn't know, nobody had told her. She said, I can't see why my sugar doesn't get any better. And she says, and yours is doing better. But she hadn't been doing the fats. Nobody had ever told her to be sure to watch the fats.
How many people in your family have diabetes?
Well, my mother, 2 sisters, and a brother.
Okay.
And of course, my mother's passed away, but she had cancer.
What about on your father's side?
I don't know if he had one sister that had diabetes, but if any of the others did,
You don't know. And when your family gets together, do you talk about diabetes, or?
We exchange recipes, low fat, low sugar. We try to make things that's low fat, low sugar.
Okay, so if you have a dinner together, if you have a Christmas or a holiday together, what kinds of things do you do different than you might have done?
Well, it'll be like, we all like the pistachio pudding, and we'll do that. I make homemade jellies, and I'll use Splenda, or else the no sugar added recipes, and they all like that. And my aunt taught me how to make dumplings, blackberry dumplings and so forth, that you make them in a little pocket, and you roll out your biscuit dough and you put your berries and your sweetener in that. That was something her mom had taught her. And my dad had said he loved that, so I asked her how to make it, and she told me.
Can you make it low sugar?
I make it low sugar. I use Splenda instead of regular sugar. And my sister uses a lot of xylitol. I'm not sure exactly where she gets it, but she uses a lot of that in a lot of recipes now.
What do you think causes the diabetes?
Well, I haven't really thought too much about that. But I know probably a sedentary lifestyle for one, because I know that's mainly what brought mine about. And I'm hoping that once I get my other knee replaced again, that it'll change, because I can exercise more and walk.
When you were a child, when you were young,
When I was
what did
young?
you do? Were you active?
Oh yeah, very active. Very active. Ran, played, climbed trees, just like all the rest of. I didn't have many girls in the neighborhood to play with, so I was rough and tough, just like the boys were.
And what changed?
Well, when I got to where I was able to be around more girls, then I did more girl things, and growing up. But there for a long time, boys played in the creek, I was right in the creek with them. Because didn't have another girl to play with. So they were friends.
And it seems that women have more difficulty getting active sometimes than men do, especially an adult. Do you see that here in this county? What do you see women doing?
There's a lot of them that are walking in Old Mill Park. See a lot of them running now that hadn't been there for a while, but that's something that's picking up. And they're doing walks for different fundraisers and so forth.
Do you think people are aware that they need to really work at being healthy?
Yeah, it's getting there.
You think we're getting there?
We're getting there.
That's good news.
We're getting there.
It it takes a while. Sometimes you have to educate people, but then just knowing it and then acting on it's another thing. Any ideas on how we can encourage people to take more action in healthy lifestyles?
Just learn portion controls is one thing. That's a hard thing to learn, especially in this area where we cook. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and when I got married the first time, I couldn't cook for 2 people. I didn't know how. I'd try, and I always fixed way too much. And then you'd eat the leftovers. So that's one thing that's hard to do.
Yeah, definitely. When you think about your family, what are the kinds of things are most supportive or helpful to you?
You mean in the diabetes end? Or?
Yes. What kinds of things can people do do they do in your family that you find to be the most helpful?
I got a brother that has a swimming pool. So even though right now I can't get in it because it's an above ground pool, but my son gets in every day pretty much. But he lets all the family come in, and they all have their turn at swimming. And then he's got badminton set up, and they love playing that, and croquet. His land is a little flatter than the rest of us, but we all live in a little area where we're all close together. Got a sister down here, I'm here, brother across the road, a sister over here, and then just out of sight is another brother. So we're all right close together.
And how far do you live from where you were raised?
I was raised down at Relief, Paint Creek. That's covered over by Paint Creek Dam area now, but that's about 19 miles from here.
So you all kind of stuck together and you moved over here, and
we're all still right here close together. Close-knit family.
And are your parents still alive? Or?
My dad is.
And where does he live?
He's at Dysonville now. He used to live in behind me, but after Mom passed away, and she'd been gone about 4 years, I think, a lady from the area, her husband had passed away, and Dad was lonesome, and she was lonesome, but they weren't really, if they were talking, they weren't letting us kids know. And her children lived in Virginia. Because when she was here at a young age, that's where she was from, and she had moved to Virginia, and the agreement was with her and her husband, once their children were raised and they retired, they would move back to Kentucky. And he had retired, so they come back to Kentucky. So her 2 boys are still in Virginia. But they were born here.
I see.
And the youngest boy, I had invited them over for supper. And I said, bring your mom. I said, Dad's over here every night for supper. I said, and I'm fixing chicken and dumplings. So they came over to eat. Tim comes in the kitchen and he says, we'd make good brother and sister. I said, we already are in the Lord. He said, yeah, but I know that. But he said, you look at Darrell and Mom sitting in there. What a good time they're having. I said, yeah. He said, I'll talk to Mom if you'll talk to Darrell.
We all played matchmakers.
So we played matchmaker, and I talked to Daddy, and he talked to Bertha. And my dad wasn't too he didn't know about that, you know. But I said, Daddy, I've been there. I know what a lonesome life you live. I said, my first husband gone 15 years. And I said, I hated every holiday. because you had somebody to spend time with.
Mm-hmm.
And now you don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's time to move on. Well, I don't know about them other kids. I said, Bertha's boys are fine with it. And I told him what Tim had said. Tim said that. And then I said, well, I'll put it this way. The rest of my brothers and sisters have never been there, but I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they got a problem with it, you tell them to come see me. Okay. So, I named over, first, he didn't want, and I named over a bunch of different women that he could talk to. And he said, well, out of all these that you've mentioned, Bertha would be the one. So, wasn't long till they were in church together, and next thing you know, they said, well, here, Daddy says, I'm in my 70s, and she's hit 70s here, and we don't have a long time to live.
Mm-hmm.
And we might as well just tie the knot, and that's what they did.
And there you go.
And we all get along good.
That's good. That's good. What roles do you think that family members play in helping persons that have diabetes actually manage the disease?
Some, it's hard for them to even understand what the disease is all about and what they need to do. Because it's hard for them to understand they've got to limit the amount of carbohydrates that they have. And that was something that was hard for me too in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But, and knowing what are the good carb choices and the bad carb choices.
Mm-hmm.
And families have that, but a lot of them are learning to help support in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to say, be sure you get in your raw vegetables. That helps a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Dr. Dameron had told me, when you really crave something sweet, buy you a bunch of little grape tomatoes, set them on your countertop, don't put them in your refrigerator. When you get hungry, go get you a handful. That will take care of that sweet. Mm-hmm. And it does.
Mm-hmm.
So I've told several, and surprisingly, they said, well, I didn't think that would work, but it does.
It's good. Well, you're helping others besides yourself, aren't you? What do you think in the county or the neighborhood could be done to prevent risks for type 2 diabetes?
Budget-wise, for a lot of people right now, it's hard for them to get out and do a whole lot. If there's free activities for them to do, or at a low cost.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people utilize the community center and the exercise rooms there. I did there for a while, until off and on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I have to do the low impact because the knee joints that I've got are for the low impact things. And but getting word out that there's things that they can do, and they learn to do portion control with their diets. And exercise is a big thing. They need to walk. If it's nothing more than 10 or 15 minutes a day, just stop and just do the brisk walking for a little bit. And I've got a roller walker with a seat. And it's hard for me to roll in the gravel in my driveway, but then once I hit the road, it's a lot easier to get out and walk.
Right.
And I can walk a lot faster with it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get tired, I can sit down. But having, like Oatmeal Park, in the upper ground, you've got the benches every so often. And when somebody's starting out, that's a handy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had more walking places out in the county, maybe, people in the different areas might do more walking and so forth.
How do you think we could make that happen? Somebody I was talking to mentioned something about the big paved parking lots that some churches have. Is that something you see out in the country?
Some of them are starting to get theirs paved or having theirs paved, and that's a big thing. It makes it a lot handier for them. I know at Malone, there's church there has a paved parking area, and then on up to Kenny, on 191. They have paved parking lot. Church there where I go, we've got a paved parking lot. But we can go. We got a flat spot for a little ways, and then go down behind the church. Go down a little bank, and then come back up around on the other side.
So it actually could make a nice little walking area.
It does make a nice walking area.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few people there on Circle Drive where I live do utilize that for that.
Sometimes we just have to be creative with what we already have, don't we?
That's true. My son gets out. He loves riding the bicycle around it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can't ride a bike on the street.
That's true.
You know. Elaine said you just got elected to an office.
School board.
School board. Tell me about that. What's your role going to be?
Well, I'm a school board member. Help make decisions for the county, for the school system. There's a lot of, we work with the financial end as to how the county, we get our monies, allocations, seek monies to help fund the schools, different programs, Title I, and there's all different. I never realized the impact and where we got our monies to run the schools until I got in there.
And how long is your term?
4 years.
So you just started?
I just started in January is when I officially took office.
Okay.
So it's all new. I'm learning.
You're learning along the way.
Learning along the way.
So let's talk a little bit about schools, okay? Because one of the problems we have right now, that's a national concern and definitely a concern here in the Eastern Kentucky area, is this obesity problem we're seeing in children. More and more children are overweight or obese. In fact, this generation is the chunkiest group of kids we've ever had.
And my son was very chunky.
But
now he's lost a lot too.
So what role can schools play? What would you see that schools could do? I'm not meaning that we have to blame the schools. It's not to blame. But what could be done at school that could help?
I just wish we had the health and physical education back. The old-fashioned PE classes that we used to have years ago when I went. Because that helped stay active. It was important that we did that. At least we had the PE class 3 days, 2 or 3. 1 week was 3 days, the next week was 2 days. And I really enjoyed it back then. And of course I stayed slim back then too.
And a lot of schools are cutting it because of
funding.
And so as a school board member, is there a way that the school might be creative in finding a way to increase the activity of kids?
Some of the teachers do some of their own physical activity with their children of a morning. Some of them do it at lunchtime or their recess time. They have creative exercises and so forth, making fun things for the children to do. I'm not sure with all the different schools if all of them do it, but I know several of them have told me that they have, and I've had parents tell me that they are doing that. And that's the main thing.
Do the kids all get to go out for recess?
In the elementaries they do.
Do they actually get up to go outside and run and play? And is that encouraged?
They have playgrounds and play activities for the children to do there in all the schools.
Now, again, put you on the spot here, but as a member of the school board, do you have, schools often have play areas and blacktop areas and some other areas that are available? Those are available to people in the community when school's not going on. Can people access that?
I haven't really asked to really know for sure. But I do know that, people need to use it. They ask the principal, and a lot of times, he'll make provisions for them to do things there at school. So, I know back 20 years ago, principal let us have exercise classes there.
you have a gymnasium too in a lot of the schools.
A lot of sports. All the schools have a gymnasium.
And do you know if is the general public allowed to come into that?
I
use
don't
that
know
space?
for sure.
All right, well, I'm putting bugs in your ears, so you can kind of ask those questions and find out that.
And I know we have community volleyball, or we used to. Had community volleyball until I had knees replaced. I was active with that, and it was different church leagues, and we would play at the middle school, and they had softball teams. But now, if they have those right now, I don't know.
Okay. I think I've asked you about everything I need to. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't talked about?
Can't think of anything.
I'd like to invite you to come and be part of the Diabetes Coalition. I don't know what Lane told you to get you here, if she bribed you or something. Or
No, we had the meeting for our new facilities with the extension office at the 172 460 site, and we were having sort of a little forum there. And I said, well, we're having this the same night we got a school board meeting. And as I was walking back to my vehicle, she cornered me and asked me if I would help out. Sure.
Great. Well, I'm glad she did. And and the coalition is we have a grant, and it's a 5-year grant, and we're just finishing the first year of the grant. And so we've got some real potential to make some changes here in the community, and kind of look at some things differently. I hope that you'll come and get involved.
I'll try.
I think it would be really great to have someone from the school board, because every time I talk to people, school always comes up as one of the solutions to problems, but if we don't have people from the school board or the school representative, then it's challenging.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is within the school, my son, he loved eating, but when he got in high school, the weightlifting class he was in, they taught him the importance more so. I could tell him, you need to exercise, you need to do this, and it didn't click. But then when Mr. Allen told him, he was ready for it. Then with Mr. Holbrook with his PE class last year, it really went good. And then with Miss Keaton and his health, well, he hated that because there were things in it he was shying backwards. There's things, he says, that she teaches that don't need to be talked about in mixed company. But that's part of it. And once he learned that, and she taught him portion control. And now it's, Mom, you're fixing too much. Or, this is all I need to eat. And he'll push back. And he's lost 60 pounds.
That's wonderful.
And he's done really well. But now he's 6'3", and he wears a 15.5 double E shoe. And
so he's a big
he's a big boy.